recent months, we've reported a lot on Westerners going to Iraq and Syria to wage jihad. Today, we're focusing on those who come from Germany, mostly from Salafist factions, which are increasingly active. According to intelligence agencies, at least 400 German Salafists have left the country to join the ranks of the Islamic State group or the Al-Nusra Front. Our correspondent in Germany, Jessica Saltz, sent us this report.
Düsseldorf High Court. On the second day of their hearing, Marco G. and his alleged accomplices continue to defy the German justice system. The group is suspected of attempted murder and of planning a bomb attack. This region of Germany has become a hotbed of Salafist activity, and the trial is closely followed by supporters of the Islamist cause. Bernhard Falk is one of them, and his message is clear.
The Federal Republic of Germany has a good reason to worry. The security situation is problematic because the oppressed will defend themselves and will find ways to carry out their actions.
The former left-wing extremist, who converted to radical Islam in prison, is close to Sven Lau, the man the press calls public enemy number one.
Look, they're wearing socks. And that's a threat to the state? If that's Germany's biggest problem, then they're lucky.
And yet Sven Lau has kept German authorities on high alert in recent weeks. He is the Sharia police. In this video that went viral on the internet, he patrols the streets of Wuppertal to prevent Muslims from going into bars or gambling halls.
If I were to stray, I would hope that someone would catch me and say, "Brother, drop gambling, quit drugs, and come to the mosque."
The Rhineland Salafists have certainly mastered the tools of communication. But beyond the provocation, they've also stepped up their presence on the streets of Wuppertal and Düsseldorf. In the Oberbilk district, home to many Turks and North African immigrants, their activities have shocked many people. This Moroccan-born journalist can attest to this. She was lectured by one of the patrol members for not wearing a veil.
They approached me wearing jackets with Sharia police written on their backs. They really thought they were in their good right, and that really annoyed me. It was shocking. If we don't react to this, if we do nothing, they will grow stronger. Let's not forget it. It all started the same way with radical Islam. At first there were only a handful, now there are over 5,000 in Germany alone.
According to intelligence agencies, more than 400 German jihadists from this movement have already left the country to join the ranks of the Islamic State organization or the Al-Nusra Front. Jihadist propaganda in German is ubiquitous on the internet. The protagonists of these movies aren't strangers. Dennis Kuspert, a former rapper, is one of those who posts regularly from Syria. We are in Berlin, on the premises of the Ufuk Association. Gertz Nordbrück visits schools in order to thwart Salafist propaganda.
When a Muslim goes online to find answers in German to questions relating to his faith, for example, is a Muslim allowed to drink Coca-Cola? Well, most of the answers he'll be getting are written by Salafists. People who represent non-radical Islam have been very slow to provide such information.
But since the beginning of this year, attacks on Muslim institutions have multiplied. This Berlin mosque was burnt to the ground in August this year. Since then, prayers now take place on the street. In order to contest their associations with radicalism, Islamic leaders are speaking out against it.
Wir, die Muslime Deutschlands, stellen uns klar und deutlich, und das nicht nur in Deutschland, sondern unabhängig von Zeit und Ort, überall und gegen jede Art von Hass, Ungerechtigkeit, Terror und Angriff auf Menschen.
This message is vital now more than ever. According to a recent survey, over 60% of Germans fear the possibility of attacks happening on their own soil.
Many say that Muslims and the Islamic State organization are the same thing. We need to distance ourselves and show that we do not share their values. The vast majority of people in Germany don't know who is going to Syria and who created the Sharia police. With appeals like this one, we can show that 99% of Muslims are against this false interpretation of Islam.
Just as these Muslims, the German authorities are also reacting. Since mid-September, all activities that support or promote the Islamic State are now banned.
Now, for more on this, I'm joined on set by Asim Al-Dafroui. He is a political scientist specialising in Salafi and jihadi groups. Hello, thank you very much for coming in. Now,
thanks for having me.
Could you start off by, since you work also in Germany as well as in France, could you start off by telling us about Salafists in Germany and the place that they occupy in German society?
So a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, when I started to work on Salafism in Germany, no average German even knew the word Salafism. And the last 2 or 3 years have been really a turning point. There are not so many Salafists in Germany, let's say 3,000 to 5,000 according to estimates, but it's a fast-growing group. And obviously, only a minority of Salafists are violent. But on the other hand, most jihadis who left to Syria or even to join Al-Qaeda in Waziristan have had a Salafi background. There's a very, very dangerous there are very dangerous common concepts between Salafism and jihadism, which make radicalization to jihadism through Salafism, unfortunately, often quite likely.
What are those common concepts? What is it that gives us the impression from this report that most of the people who go and wage jihad, most of the Muslims, are Salafists?
First of all, there's obviously like the total rejection of democracy, of a worldly order, which is not compatible with European rights standards anyway. So they totally reject the secular order. Then they share a strong rejection of believers of other religions. I mean, even an average Salafist would say, don't have contact with Christians and don't have contacts with Jews. Not even in a superficial way. And then again, there's this common concept that there is a global conspiracy of Western powers, they call it American Zionists and their allies, against Islam. So there's a very, very powerful base for radicalization. But then again, we shouldn't think in terms of religion. What we really find today in Germany, like in many other European countries, is an anti-culture of a jihad, some form of youth culture of jihad, which took deep roots in most European countries, which is not so much about Islam. It's about, before it was quite trendy to become a punk or even a skinhead to shock somebody. Now it's extremely trendy to become a Salafi, to shock your grandmother. And if you want to shock the whole society, then become a jihadi.
And then, of course, as we saw in the report, there's a lot of propaganda online, social networking, websites helping people trying to recruit potential jihadis spread their message. What are the German authorities doing about that?
The German authorities have been active for many, many years in terms of internet surveillance. Contrary to France, which started quite late, there's a lot of funding for civil society initiatives in terms of prevention and de-radicalizing. I think in parts of the film we just saw, there was they featured a Berlin initiative where highly educated, in terms of Islam, educated specialists of Islam go into primary schools and really speak to the students and to the pupils and explain that jihadism has nothing to do with Islam, and try to unmask jihadi concepts and try to unmask jihadism generally as a sect which has as a terror sect which has very little things to do with Islam.
You mentioned the French authorities. Are French nationals who go and wage jihad abroad, do they tend to have the same motives as German nationals? Very
similar motives. And what we've seen recently is, like, for instance, with Nemouche, the killer of Brussels, then and the guardian of the French hostages there, or what we have seen with Mohamed Merah. These are European youths, same in Germany, who lived for a long time on the margin of society, who have for a long time themselves had the feeling to be excluded, and in their search for meaning in life, they fall into the jihadi trap. And there's no huge difference between France and Germany in terms of this kind of recruitment. Even Britain, you find similar patterns. Whereas like Al-Qaeda was trying to recruit engineers or university graduates to do large-scale, sophisticated terror attacks, we now find recruitment on the fringes of Western society. At the same time, those people who have been recruited are products of European culture. Most of them have read less pages in the Quran than they have watched Hollywood blockbusters or Hollywood horror films. So we really, today in this Web 2.0 jihad, there's a totally different kind of recruits compared to 5, 6, 10 years ago.
So the authorities, they're having to deal with a double problem. They've got the people, nationals going abroad to wage jihad, and then the problem of those who come back to perhaps carry out attacks like we saw with Medina Mouche.
Coming back is a huge issue. It's not about those people only. It's not only about the security issue of people coming back and trying to wage attacks. There are a lot of people who want to come back, a lot of young people who have been disillusioned by the jihad, in brackets, waged in Syria and Iraq, and who want to come back and reintegrate into society. But that's a very challenging thing. What do you offer those people? How do you reintegrate them into society? How do you look after their families in order to prevent that they become again radicalized? So de-radicalization, reintegration into society are huge issues which every single European country will have to confront, and fast.
Okay, I'm afraid we've run out of time. Thank you very much, though,
Thank
for
you.
coming in, Asim El-Dufraoui. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, we're going to go to a short break. When we come back, I'll have the headlines for you, including pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong raising the stakes. They've threatened to occupy government buildings if the chief executive doesn't resign by Friday. We'll have more on that and the rest of the news coming right up. Stay tuned to France 24.